Hello everybody, welcome to the Football Fill-In. We've got a banging show for you today actually, even though it's sort of mid-season, there's not too much going on.
There's loads going on.
England under-21 has just won for the second tournament in a row, second consecutive. Well done boys. Lee Carsley, massive shout out. Harvey Elliott, player of the tournament. Jarell Quansah to Leverkusen. James Trafford could be on the move. And we've got this incredible thing happening in the Premier League next season where apparently when a player gets substituted, they're going to be getting interviewed.
Love it.
Yeah?
Yep.
Should we get into it, boys?
Let's go.
Right, we're going to start with Club World Cup because I had a bit of beef on Twitter, didn't I?
You always say, right, so doesn't Ben always say, guys, like if there's a YouTube comment or an Instagram comment, Ben will go, don't get involved.
Don't bite.
Don't bite. Don't get involved. You were beefing last night.
I wasn't beefing, right? Watto, you'll back me up here, right? Sky Sports News, they're a news outlet, yeah?
Yeah.
The reporters that work for Sky Sports News should be reporting news. That's their job. Impartially as well, yeah? Impartiality should be the number one trait of a reporter, okay?
Yeah.
However, Kave Solhekol, okay, basically was on Sky Sports News yesterday and he was just saying that Jurgen Klopp had been speaking about the Club World Cup and Jurgen Klopp is not happy with the Club World Cup. He thinks that it's just too much for the players and it's going to water down the tournament, blah, blah, blah. And it's all very good points because it's Jurgen Klopp and I would take everything that Jurgen Klopp says, pretty much like gospel because he's been there.
Well, yeah, he's got a voice.
Well, his opinion's very validated.
Yeah, he's got some weighty opinions, and rightly so as well. He's got some credit in the bank, let's say, okay? And anyway, Solhekol basically said, Jurgen, you don't have to watch it, okay? Go and play paddle.
But then he went into a weird thing of go for a meal, go for a walk, and we're like, yeah, we get the picture.
We don't need your opinion here, okay, Kave? We don't need your opinion, okay? Just report the news, that's all you need to do. Tell us that's what Jurgen Klopp said, but we don't need your personal opinion on it. And that's all it was. I just said, I don't need this from reporters.
And what was the... I had a quick scour last night, hoping that, you might be getting it wrong, but no, fair play to you. People were on board with you, weren't they? And they were like, yeah, fair point. Because a couple of people going, you have an opinion, Ben. You like, well, I'm not a reporter.
Yeah, we make content, but I'm not in the media, are we?
And actually, this show would be pretty dull if you didn't have an opinion.
Okay, should we move it on anyway, right? What do you reckon to this, Watto? If in your playing days... you'd have been brought off, you'd have been subbed off, right? You've had a stinker, okay?
I had a few, but thank Christ they didn't sub the goalies.
You're an hour into the game, you've just been subbed off because you've had a stinker, you've let two in, right? And then the Sky Sports cameras come running up to you as you're trudging off the pitch. Watto, what do you make of the game so far? How would you have taken to that?
I would have found it very, very difficult. But obviously, I'm not like the modern player. I've not been media trained, so I'd have probably just told the guy to fuck off and we'd have been off. But I think it's an amazing thing. But I think that the money that's in football and the TV revenue, they're always going to look for a new angle. Yeah. I think it will be very, very difficult for players, even though they've had miles of courses on media training and stuff. I think managers and coaches are prepared to speak in and around the game because that's what they have to do. But I think a player coming off the field and not really being prepared, and obviously if you're brought off, you're not normally very happy, are you? If it's in the last 2 or 3 minutes and it's just to see the game out, that's slightly different. But if you're brought off on 50, 55 minutes, you're not really going to be too happy.
Well, there's a couple of things. So there's not a huge amount of information out there. So our understanding is that when a player comes off, they'll get time to have a warm down and then they'll be interviewed. The other element is there's going to be cameras, steady cams on the pitch for celebrations.
Like they'll be able to run onto the pitch.
Yeah, so they'll be running onto the pitch, which is then going to cause an issue with groundsmen, them slipping over. Wow. And then there's the element where they'll be in the changing room as well. So this whole media blackout of...
As a fan then, as a football fan, do you want to see this?
100%.
Yeah.
I am I am here for it.
Yeah,
I just think anything we can do to bring us closer to the game, to make it more exciting, 100%.
Do you know why? Because I think we're so bored now of monotonous interviews where everybody just toes the line and there's no emotion, there's no personality, right? People want to see it where people are still raw from what's just happened on the pitch minutes, seconds ago. Right?
I think it'd be really difficult for the foreign players because some of them need a bit of help from a teammate or some have interpreters. And I think that's where I think it might take a little bit of time to get going because you could get your mic in somebody's face and they're not really up on the language at the minute, and that'll be very difficult for them.
So what would happen though, Fozzie? So if you were, let's say you're at Watford, okay, it's 60 minutes, you're getting beat 4-0 by Man City, Troy Deeney comes off, or Etienne Capoue comes off, something like that, they stick a microphone under their beak, you must be wincing thinking, oh no.
No, that's car crash waiting to happen.
But I think it'll create so many stories. Hey, look, I hope they can fucking bleep things up.
Oh my God. They're going to have like some sort of time delay on it or something because...
Dump button.
If you get a character... This is what I mean. I think they're going to be so careful and so picky and choosy on who they actually go to. So I get the impression that they're only going to do it to the teams that are probably winning. So if somebody gets brought off on the hour mark or something, they're visibly tired, they've had a decent game and the team's winning 2-0, I think that's the person they're going to go for. I don't think they're going to be able to go for your Troy Deeney.
No, but they're going to have to like learn to walk before you can run, in it. Because I'm like you. I think if you go for the team that's had a red card or you've had a controversial decision or a VAR thing's gone against you and something crazy, I think you could get a response that not anybody would really want to see.
The other element, though, Ben, is the league, if they're doing this, because obviously this is on the back of the new Sky deal coming into place. There's 6.7 billion Sky and TNT. The other thing we have to consider is with these interviews, there's going to be a lot of emotional responses. The league have to take this into consideration. So if somebody does say something a little bit, they can't just be slapping a fine on them straight away, can they?
No, they can't. And not only that as well, you've got to think, when people are in the heat of the battle, emotions run so high. Some people can't hold their tongue. They can't hold what they want to say. And it might not necessarily be swearing or something like that. They might be throwing some of their other teammates under the bus. Like, can you think of what frictions and fractions this is going to cause in the dressing room in the days afterwards or even that night?
But the thing is, when you get that microphone and camera in front of your face, you're going to go into self-protection mode.
Yeah.
So you're going to say some crazy stuff.
It weren't me.
It weren't me.
It was them.
Well, imagine if he says about the manager's tactics for a game, like, oh my God. But anything could happen. But I think, look, the money that we spoke about in football is huge, and I think people do want to see, in a strange way, players who are earning this kind of money exposed a little bit, which is not nice, but that's the reality. But I do think younger fans and families want to see inside dressing rooms. They want to get a little bit more access to something, even if it's a remote camera and you see players just getting ready. You not necessarily need to hear it, but I think they want to see what happens behind the scenes. So I think a lot of it's a good idea. That'll be a running battle all season, I think.
The one thing I did read is that team talks are going to be a no-no. But we were talking about it before on Watto, weren't we? Like, it'd be interesting to know what the situation is like contractually, because what happens if a player just refuses and goes, no, I'm not doing it. He's had a bad game. No, go away.
Yeah, this is what I mean. They're going to have to walk before they run. They're going to have to start steady.
You hope, I can't remember all the opening fixtures, but you want somebody to be winning 4 or 5 and just gutter them. Easy win.
And then once they do it, it becomes eventually this will become the norm, and players won't really be in a position to turn it down, because you'll get the first couple of people turn it down and they'll get so much abuse online and hate that you've got to do it, face up to it.
I'd like to see how they're going to do it. You alluded to the fact that they'll allow a player to warm down, but they don't really do that. They go and sit and sulk in an area. So, like, is the reporter going to stand over the manager and the subs and get in there and the camera gets...
It's horrible.
I mean, I'm surely they're going to have to put a designated little bit, because if the sub just goes and sits where he normally sits...
They will,
an interview zone or
because they trialled it last season, didn't they? It was a Fulham player, I can't remember who exactly, but they did trial it last season and he did an interview.
Basically, the players will hate it, but everybody else watching, the billions at home, are going to love it.
And what about the cameras coming on the pitch when they score, Ben? Like if you get a couple of operators come running on the pitch, that's
Mate, it's just
do you
weird.
reckon?
Well, middle of winter, like you said, you could get a few falling on their arse, and you might imagine somebody getting knocked out because the guy slipped, the camera's on his head.
Right. So as well, imagine they score a goal, right, and they're celebrating near to the goalkeeper or next to the goalkeeper, right, and the camera crew run on. You're asking for trouble from the goalie, though, because the goalie doesn't want to be on. He doesn't want to be close-up visuals of his facials, giving it.
Yeah, but
like, he's going to be fuming. He's going to be fuming at that point.
Last kick as well. You
Last
imagine
kick
getting
at game.
But you would like to think they're not going to get the goalie, they'll get the attacker player.
Yeah, I know, but if he's just there, it's inevitable, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good TV, but I think for the players, I think it's going to be quite uncomfortable.
I think long term it's good for fan experience,
Yeah.
for engagement, and for the show.
It would be really interesting when the players are all back in for pre-season training. Probably a couple of weeks before the season starts, you always have like the referees meeting where a referee will come around.
Yeah.
They'll talk about any new rule changes, new introductions, things like that. But you also get TV people coming in and saying, "This is what we're going to be doing now. You're obligated to do this many interviews before, during, after." And when they try and explain how this is going to work, it'll be really interesting to talk to a player that's sat there and been part of those meetings about how they're trying to explain, how the TV companies are explaining that this is how we're going to do it.
But you know, when you were a player at all the clubs you've played at in the Premier League, it's even very difficult for your own in-house teams to get you lads to speak.
Really difficult.
After a match.
Really.
You know what I mean? And
Look, how hard is it?
Very difficult.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most difficult jobs. And that's a guy or a girl who would be at your club, who you would trust, really.
Yeah.
But after a game, and especially if it's gone badly, like obviously for a lot of players it does every week or the result's bad, you didn't even want to talk to your guys.
Yeah,
so I think that's where it's going to be
the difference
difficult.
is, though, Watto, after a game, let's say it's, I don't know, Newcastle or something, they will get beat 2-0 and it'll be the same characters that will come out, the captain or, you know, can you come and do this interview? And the media guys know which players are more likely to front up. You always did it, didn't you? Troy always did it.
You just pick a more senior player, somebody who's good at talking and somebody you can rely on to not put their foot in
But the
the mouth,
difference is
basically.
now it's who's coming off.
But I think
There's not that element of choice.
But that's maybe why they've done it, mate, because they're fed up of seeing the same guys, because
And the same
it's the same monotonous answer. This now is in the heat of battle going to be a real emotional response, and they're not necessarily always going to come out with a political correct answer, which is great for the TV. So I think maybe all round it will be better, but I just think I know the in-house stuff was so difficult for the guys running the in-house stuff because the players wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the way to get into it, but it'll take a little bit
Exciting
of
to see. Be good to see, like as a spectacle. I think the other
for
thing is
sure.
as well is I think that they know I know at half time they've trialled it again, but they'll no doubt there'll be half time managers, etc., because most people now they will watch the first half, go and make
Switch
a cup
off
of
for
tea.
15
Yeah,
minutes.
no one I don't know if you watch
There's
half
nothing much in
time.
the half-time. Only if you really want to watch a bit of an analysis because there's been something controversial that's happened.
Yeah, the only time I'm tuning in, realistically, the only time is if I know Roy Keane's going to go off on one.
Basically that. That's exactly it. Should we talk about the 21s, lads? 2 tournaments in a row now, consecutive Euros tournaments, fantastic achievement. Lee Carsley, absolutely brilliant, buzzing for him at full time. You see him, like he never really shows much emotion, Lee Carsley, but for him to sort of like break down on his knees like that and to do it with a completely different squad as well, like literally completely different to the
and a
last
few
one.
players missing.
Phenomenal, really, really good effort. Harvey Elliott, you watched the semi-final. You were
watched the
actually out in
semi-final.
Slovakia, weren't you? Harvey Elliott got player of the tournament. How good was he?
He was really good in the semi-final. I think he's obviously become a real pivotal figure in that group. Yeah. He plays like as a leader within it, and he looks like he's in control of his emotions before the game. I can't remember. He were on the field with 2 or 3 of the other lads, just really chatting, calm before the semi-final. Really quite late. I thought he'd have been in and getting ready and whatever, but I think it just showed you, or it showed me, that he were in a real good place with his football. And he played phenomenally well. But I think, like, as England fans, we were at the Euros last summer, and we're living on the hope of winning something. But to do 2 back-to-back under-21 tournaments, we must have a generation, or potentially 2 generations of talent coming through that's got to try and get us to a final, or maybe winning something in the not-too-distant future.
When you look through at that 21 team, you like to think, looking at that, there's going to be a good half a dozen that are going to graduate to the senior team. They look that good, don't they? Even on paper, by the names, you go, God blimey, they're stacked with talent. So actually just having that culture, Ben, of coming through and winning things, that's really important for the senior team, isn't it?
It's incredible. Like I say, I think that to do it with two completely different squads as well just speaks volumes of how many good players, how many good young players there are in this country as well. The final was incredible as well. Like, really, really enjoyed it. Like, I was watching the first half, no joke, the way we were slicing through that German team, we could have been 5 up in the first half. Genuinely, it could have been 5-0 at half-time. They got the goal, Germany, just before half-time. It was a bit of a blow, really, wasn't it? Because they didn't deserve it at all. And then they obviously got the equaliser, took it to extra time. But I think worthy winners in the end of it.
Yeah, look, I mean, the group game when we played Germany, like, both teams really felt like they were through. Germany made 11 changes, and I think that fell into England's lap coming into the final, because obviously we got beat when they made 11 changes. But like, when we put our 4 or 5 back in, we were at a level that really quashed them. But we played it unbelievable. And then you look at this now, Quansah, obviously part of the Liverpool deal with Wirtz. Like, it were interesting, we're talking pre-show about this, but like, I had a similar situation when I was at Southampton. Obviously, Liverpool owed us so much money for, obviously, Van Dijk and all the rest of them. They probably had 150 million quid that they probably still owed Southampton. And I remember us taking Ingsy back to Southampton, and that becoming part of the deal, because instead of them paying one of their instalments for 20 million, we'll take Ingsy off your hand, and he proved to be a great player for Southampton.
I was reading this morning, 35 mil. Jarell Quansah, he's 22, I believe. Yeah. Why would they say it must be part of this Wirtz deal, Ben? Because they meant to have a buyback option, but surely the obvious answer would be to send him on loan.
Yeah, I think, like, in the final, he was brilliant, honestly, absolutely brilliant. Joe Hart on commentary was amazing, by the way. He did such a good job. He kept mentioning Jarell Quansah, where whenever he had any space in front of him, he would just exploit it. With the ball at his feet, he's so happy, so comfortable. He's such a big lad as well. But he would just run into that space, and that causes absolute mayhem for the opposition, because at that point, somebody from the midfield has to go into there, which creates a gap behind him, and it's just carnage, honestly. It's horrible. And he was fantastic in the game, and I'm thinking, 35 million quid. Like, if I'm Liverpool, I almost want to cancel this last second and go, do you know what? Like, I know you might not play every game this season, but you'll definitely play a big chunk of this season for us. I promise you, he will. He'll play a massive part. Konate, obviously, he's not going to play the whole season, but I think he can fill in incredibly well. And I think he's the future for Liverpool. Well, he would have been the future for Liverpool. So I think Leverkusen would be buzzing that they're going to be getting him through the door.
Well, you think if they're going to be signing, they're heavily linked with Mark Gahey, so what would Gahey cost? 70?
Got to be 70 million quid. But like I say, if he's 21, 22 years old, you've got at least 10, 12 years to come.
Well, I was going to say something's happened. There's obviously something.
It will
maybe
be
it's part of the deal.
It's exactly what Watto says there. Wirtz apparently is apparently costing 15 million or something like that. It's an awful lot of money. If you can chunk a big old 35, it brings it down to about 80, 90 million quid. It's kind of like, actually.
We can do it a little bit, but I'm like you. I think he played really well for the 21s, and I think he's one for the future. Yeah. But I think Liverpool, the business that they're doing this summer has been incredible. And I think they've had to do something just to be able to free some money up, because I think they've got another couple of deals lined up. I think the business, they've blown every other Premier League team out of the water, and we'll come on to a few bits later for sure. But I think they are showing the way a top club runs now. Yeah, won the league and actually go, right, I'll tell you what.
How important is it, Ben, to get the deals done early? So for example, for them players to now go on pre-season tour with Liverpool. Yeah. Is it more important to some managers than others?
I think it's important for the whole football club to have them players already done and dusted, ready to go. Everything's settled. They did it so quickly as well. There was no kind of like transfer murmurings and just carrying it on. They got it done. They might have to pay a little bit of a premium, might have to pay a little bit more to get it done.
But it's worth it, isn't it?
It's worth every penny. And this is where you see the trouble of teams like Manchester United and Spurs, where they always seem to just wait till the last seconds, last minutes, last weeks of the transfer window. Yeah. And it just gets you off to a bad start. It really does. Whereas Liverpool now, they'll all go away on pre-season training, they'll all go away on pre-season tour.
Get to know each other.
They get to know each other, they know the squad that they've got to work with. It's brilliant. Some of the transfers as well. Kirkers for 40-odd million quid.
I think
a hell of a side.
Frimpong for 20-odd. Like, it's incredible.
It's incredible what they've done. And all managers and coaches want the group together as early as possible.
As early as possible.
So I think for Liverpool to have done what they've done is fantastic. And look at Chelsea now, supposed to be taking Pedro from Brighton, which I think is another unbelievable deal.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be sat at home for 2 weeks. They're going to take him out to the Club World Cup. Yeah. So he's integrated straight into it. However deep they go, probably have another week off, and then they're into it.
And what about Harvey Elliott then? So he's only 20. I think he was only 22 in April.
Yeah.
Right? And
he's played a lot of football already as well, you know, for a 22-year-old.
150 odd games for Liverpool, which surprised me.
Over 200 in his career, which
and he had that big injury.
Yeah, I know.
But he didn't play a huge amount of minutes last season. Yeah. What if you were him now on the back of this Euros? What would you be wanting to do if you were Harvey Elliott?
It's such a tough situation to be in, isn't it? It's a little bit like, do you remember Phil Foden, like 4 or 5 years ago, where he was good to go. He's good to play in the Premier League, but not quite for Man City. And he could have gone out on loan, he could have gone here, there and everywhere, but he stayed, he bided his time, and then eventually found himself starter, absolute starter. Cole Palmer, same sort. But Harvey Elliott's in that position now where he knows he's still probably not going to start next season. He'll be an important player and he'll play 20, 25 games next season for sure, but he's not going to be relied on.
Would you if you were him then, because there's two things to think about, is one, he's going to be surrounding himself with that squad and he will develop and he will be learning from the absolute best of the best. Yeah. So there's that element. But let's look at it in the cold light of day. If he gets a move to a Tottenham, a Newcastle, a West Ham or whatever, he'll probably double his money.
He'll double his money, but there's always still a risk there. There's a risk of him moving to that team and not absolutely smashing it. So you'd think that if he went to one of them teams, he would be one of the better players there and he'd smash it, and then he would get another move again back to a Man City, back to a Liverpool in a few years' time. But there's always that risk that he doesn't do that, okay? And if you leave Liverpool, you leave the big boy and step it down one, it's really hard to get back again if you haven't smashed it.
But he probably knows that he could have scored 10 goals in this tournament. He's not going to be starting week in, week out. It's very unlikely.
But he's still at one of the best clubs in the world, the best club in England still probably. He's still at that club and he will have a part to play in that club next season, just not an integral part, not a Mo Salah part, not a Van Dijk part. But he'll still have an important part to play.
If you were if a parent of his Watto, looking at his career so far and the summer he's had, what would you be advising him?
Honestly, I would be advising him, even though he'll not get the minutes, I think it would be a real big decision to leave that football club. I think his development under it will still be phenomenal with the talent he's got around him. I think Slot as a manager has been incredible. And I actually think that being part of a winning machine and a culture is really important for him to keep his development. And it's not being disrespectful to them other type teams, because he could probably go and double his money and be an established Premier League star for sure. But the chance of filling his trophy cabinet would have gone. I think he's young, he's going to earn the money. I think to stay in that environment for as long as he can and still keep learning, because every window that opens, because of the lack of game time, there's always going to be an opportunity.
So how long does he... So let's say next season he appears in 30 games, right? He comes off the bench, starts across all the competitions. How many years does he do that for? So if at the end of next season he's had another reasonable year, he's got some game time, but at what age does he hit and go, I need to play every week? Like, because he's 22... This time next year, obviously, he's going to be 23.
But he's still only young, isn't it? And I know we've spoke about the Club World Cup and the World Cups, the Euros. He's just played in the 21s. So your career, in some ways, is shortening because you're not getting the rest and recovery time, which is what Klopp alluded to. So the length of career, nobody knows for sure. But I think he's still very, very young at that age. I think when he gets to 24, 25, then he's making career-defining decisions about where he's at, really. But I think if Slot uses him well, and because they're going to be attacking on so many fronts with the players they've signed, I think he'll probably get a bit more game time than we think, and I think that's what will keep him there.
Because I don't think he's on I don't think it's like a situation where you hear about players that are on, you know, a small wage type thing. I think he did sign a new deal because he's on good, very good money.
He'll be on 70, 80. It's like what I said though. I think just being in that environment, I think he needs to stay in that environment for as long as he's making progress, basically. Yeah. So if he does play 25 games next season, if he does play 28 the season after, 30 the season after, mate, that's not to be sniffed at. When
No,
you're playing
yeah.
for Liverpool in the Champions League and you're winning things as well.
Yeah.
But being in that environment is the most important part, because you know for a fact that Liverpool are one of the most professional teams. You know, training every single day is on it. Everything's sharp. So that becomes ingrained into Harvey Elliott's makeup. So he does that without even thinking now. He gets up out of bed and he works really hard in training. So then when he does get to 25, 26, if it's not quite worked out at Liverpool, he can go to another team and he's still a utmost professional. So even if his standards drop a little bit because training is not quite as sharp, he'll still stick out.
It's like the old Man United players, isn't it? They did the period at Man United, and Everton always used to take them because that's the culture that they wanted to bring in. And Liverpool are now that team, I think, at the top, very top of it. The culture, everything with it is where you want to be. So any young player that gets anywhere near it at Liverpool, there's always going to be loads of options.
When I was at Man United as a kid, Alex Ferguson, I went out on loan to Watford, and the last thing he said to me before I left, he said, "Don't forget, you're representing Manchester United." And I went out on loan to Watford, and I was only a kid. It was the first time being in a first team environment, and I didn't really know how to be professional. I didn't know what it took, and very quickly I was back at Old Trafford, and Alex Ferguson said, "I told you, I told you before you left, you're representing Man United. Pull your finger out your ass and get doing it properly." And that was it. It was the biggest rocket I ever had, but I needed it, and it was incredible. And he's right, though. That's what you're doing. You're representing that football club, and I think Man United, it's a different story completely now.
I bet that just doesn't happen anymore.
No,
it?
you don't.
Like
It
a
don't
young player
happen.
going
Yeah.
on loan, I bet you, without knowing, that a manager ain't going to pull them and go, "You're representing this club here." Can you think that happens anymore?
Mate, he didn't even say it as nicely as that. It is basically, you do this or else you are going to get an absolute hairdryer, all right?
And did you get the absolute hairdryer?
Absolute hairdryer, damn right as well. Nowadays, it's a little pat on the back and go on, mate, be a good boy, all the best, all right? If you need anything, come and let us know. Like, no.
And what about your mate, the young English protege, James Trafford?
James Trafford, yeah. So,
reading this morning, 25 mil bid rejected
Yeah.
from Newcastle. Burnley apparently want 35-40.
They've
What do
just
you make
signed a new goalie as well, Burnley, haven't they, a couple of days ago?
Yeah. What do you make of this?
I think it's imminent, to be perfectly honest with you. Whether it's Man City or whether it's Newcastle, I think he's going to be going. Whether he's going to get first team football straight away, I'm not fully sure yet. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I think for Man City, it probably makes more sense for them, to be perfectly honest with you, because they have that sell-on clause. So if they're buying him for... I think this is the reason why they're holding out for a bit more money, because they know that if Man City do it, Man City are going to be recouping 25% of this anyway, because they have that sell-on clause.
I think they've got 15%, is it?
15%.
15-20%?
Yeah, so like I say, if they're selling it
20%.
yeah, so they're getting money back straight away, which lowers the fee. But yeah, it's going to happen. Burnley, by all accounts, they need to offload a few players, even though they've just been promoted. Finances aren't particularly brilliant, and when somebody's offering 40 million quid for a goalkeeper, normally you're selling, aren't you?
Yeah, I think Burnley, unfortunately, are going to have to be a selling club, which is what they are. Yeah. I think Trafford's been an unbelievable servant for them. And if you think you bought him for 15 mil, I think you're going to get at least double your money for that. I think in terms of the modern way, it's a good deal for Burnley. But Trafford is probably a level or two above Burnley this year. We obviously know already the promoted teams are going to struggle, so he wants to put himself on a platform where he can get international recognition and really try and drive his career on. So I think if he went back to City, obviously he'd have a fight on his hand with Edison. It don't look like he's going to leave. But if he goes to Newcastle, it's the same. I mean, I think Nick Pope's been phenomenal for him.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, you know. It'll be really interesting to see, because when you've got an established first-team goalkeeper at the club, Edison and Nick Pope, they are established. And I know there's always been rumours about Edison sort of like, he's getting to that point now where he might be leaving next season. And Nick Pope, there's always this, well, he can't really play with his feet, but they're still established number ones. They really are. So you can't expect to just go in there. No. You can't expect to just go in there and be the number one goalkeeper. So it might be a case of having to battle it out for a little bit, waiting for an injury, a loss of form, a dip in form, something like that.
It's interesting though, because obviously we're getting into World Cup year. So actually we could quite feasibly come to if Aaron Ramsdale gets moved back to the Premier League, which looks very, very likely that he will, we might be in a position where you've got Aaron Ramsdale, Jordan Pickford,
Dean Henderson, James Trafford, Nick Pope
potentially all playing first team football. I'd ask you, Watto, unless is it Jordan Pickford's position to lose? So unless he has an absolute horror show this year, would you expect him to start for England at the World Cup?
Yeah, I think because there's a new manager in Tuchel, it could open a door for one of the other lads. But ultimately, Pickford would have to have a massive drop-off because he's been phenomenal in the tournaments for England. Everton look like they're hopefully going to be a bit better next year, so he'd hopefully be part of a stronger team. And it's the rest of them have got to have phenomenal seasons. Yeah. But I think it's always going to be Pickford's to lose. And I think because of the quality of the guys behind him, like they'll get opportunities in the games leading up to the tournament. But I can't see any reason why Pickford wouldn't be number one.
Right now, who would be your 1, 2, 3?
I think I would take, obviously Pickford would play, and I would probably be taking Henderson and Trafford.
What about you?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah, that's the key to the rest of the
when he gets, if he gets a move back to the Premier League and how he plays for them. But at the moment in time, it's exactly what Watto said there.
Got some great depth, though, haven't we?
Oh, without doubt,
we're in a good spot.
We're in a good spot with the goalies, 100%. But when you talk about the fact of what money you spend, Liverpool have always we did it last year.
Yeah.
Mamardishvili, 29 million. He's coming in to replace Alisson. He's not going to walk into the team, even though they've spent 30 million.
It's mad, isn't it?
It's not happening. So
it's hard, isn't it, mate? It's hard being a goalie, you know. Genuinely, it is. It's hard being a goalie. You've got Liverpool there. You've got world-class goalies, number one. Unless you are different gravy, unless you are the next big thing as a goalkeeper, you ain't replacing him. So Mamardashvili at Liverpool is going to have a tough time next year, and he's not going to be used to sitting on the bench, you know. He's never done it before. He ain't going to want to just sit there.
But he's going to be relying then on an Harvey Elliott. So when that Carabao Cup game comes round and he's wanting to show his wares, he wants them to be at it. He wants them going all the way to the final. If he gets a chance, because they're qualified in the Champions League games, we're at it. And I think that's the culture we talk about. They're going to be driving each other on because they don't want to be out of these competitions because it's very difficult then to get into that 11. Yeah. So they're going to be attacking on all fronts, and I think there'll be an amazing watch this year, Liverpool.
What did you say earlier, Jay? Liverpool for the quad?
Yeah, quadruple.
Heard it here first.
Mate,
Jamie knows his football,
I bet you
so
don't
we're
get
not
fantastic odds on that, mate, to be honest with you.
No, I bet you wouldn't.
You wouldn't get fantastic on us. Where's Dominic Calvert-Lewin going, lads? Anybody know?
Well, the way
He's a free agent.
Well, the way Arsenal are going, no striker, he'll probably end up there because, like, how are they not doing business? We spoke about it last week. Chelsea already taking Delap. Looks like they're taking Pedro. Pedro would be an unbelievable fit for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Doesn't even look like they're even in the mix for that. They've signed Norgard, still no striker. DCL, he's got everything, but you want more.
Yeah.
But, like, if he's a free transfer, surely Arsenal have to be in the mix of that at the minute. They can't start a season potentially with nothing again.
Yeah.
He's obviously not been clinical enough to probably warrant starting. But they need strikers in the building.
Yeah.
So he has to be one that's on the radar, surely.
Yeah, it's an easy one. It really is. Like, free transfers don't come along very often when you're an England international.
28.
You're 28 years old. You've been playing in the Premier League, and a lot of people worry about his fitness. But the last couple of years, he's played pretty much, I think, something like 26 games and 30 games in the last couple of years. I know he's not so clinical. I know this, but I just think Arsenal are so bare-boned when it comes to strikers that
maybe it's just a new challenge for him, because there was a period 4 or 5 years ago, we were looking earlier on, weren't we, Luke, about, I think in netted 16 in the one season in the Premier League, then either 14 or 15 the next season, and it just looked like it was take-off time for him.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't quite hit the heights, because you look at him and he is an absolute specimen of a player.
It's tough when you're playing for, like, your Evertons, like, you know, the ones that are always in a battle. It is tough, in fairness, for him. It would be really interesting to see if he did go to a big boy, how clinical he would need to be.
He's going to get more chances.
He's obviously going to get more chances.
For sure.
And you get to see if he is clinical or not, because if he's getting those chances and not putting the ball in the back of the net, then maybe he will be a plan B for an Arsenal. You never know.
Yeah. I could see him going up to Newcastle and playing as a kind of second fiddle.
He'll have a good few teams sniffing anyway. Yeah. Apparently Man United were sniffing a little bit as well. Do you know what I mean? Just the sheer fact that he's a free transfer, I think, is the bit that makes people go,
it'll open a lot of doors for him.
What?
But the teams who have not got the striker like an Arsenal, I think he has to be on their radar.
Yeah.
Cannot be.
And what do you reckon then, Ben, your old teammate, Joao Pedro, 50 mil, 7-year contract.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
First of all, great lad.
Yeah.
really hard-working player, like really hard-working, really aggressive, runs his socks off, just doesn't stop, doesn't give the defenders a minute's peace. And he's really started to add goals into his game now. He scored a lot of penalties last season, don't get me wrong, but some of the goals he did score last season, I'm thinking that just comes about from real hard work and tenacity. And I think Chelsea will really appreciate that. I think that's the bit that they've been missing with your Nkunkus, with your Jacksons, is that real... like, really pressing. Do you know what I mean? Really shutting somebody down with intent.
You imagine them next year playing 4-2-3-1. So you'll have Delap up front, you'll have Palmer on the side, you'll have Pedro on the side. Plethora of what they want to do with a 10 if they want. They could put Palmer as a 10 and play... Sterling's still there, isn't he? I forgot about him. But they can be unbelievable.
They've got so many Neto. They can, honestly, the list of their attacking talent, Chelsea, is phenomenal.
It's phenomenal.
If they can get that clicking, genuinely, if they can find a system that works, a team that works, a formation that works, right, they will be a problem next season.
They will, but I mean, they're going... Right now, obviously, Joao Felix, Sterling need to come back, but they've got Neto and Nkunku, Palmer, Jackson, Delap, Madueke, Sterling, Felix, and then 55-odd million for this Jamie Gittins, who's 20 years old. I can't say I've seen him play a lot, but unless he's showing Jude-type potential, that is a lot of money.
I think they've probably made their mind up on a few of them players that are going to be going. So you'd think that Sterling or Felix probably won't have much of a part to play for Chelsea next season. They'll probably be trying to offload them. But Sterling's on massive wages. Felix is on massive wages. It's so hard to get rid of these players that are on big wages.
Sorry, Watto.
No, I'm just saying, but to be fair, they've got to get rid, haven't they? The money that they're spending on Delap and a Pedro, and if they do bring Gittins in, they're over 100 million again, easily.
No, they'll just sell another hotel or...
well, that's it then. If they keep selling the women's team to
Did you see, I saw a bit from on Talk Sport, who's the finance guy?
Maguire?
No, there's another guy. Really, really good. He always speaks really, really well. He was talking about Aston Villa, actually, because Villa are in a real precarious situation with their finances.
So wages to turn apparently,
he says, I've been trying to do the math on it as much as I can. And he says, and they are right at the line, right on the cusp of failing, basically, which would mean points deduction, fines, he says, and I would not be surprised to see them either do something similar to what Chelsea did with the women's team or find a car park or something that they can sell to themselves. He said, genuinely, he said, I think it'll probably be the women's team, but if not, it will be selling some sort of...
I've got a better idea for them, because HS2 have taken a little bit of the training ground bit, and they've done well with that. So maybe if HS2 need a bit more at the Bodymore Heath, they can make a few more quid.
Just a few more million on that as well, yeah.
I think Joao Pedro is it's a very good signing because he is versatile and he can play in as a 9, he can play a 10.
Yeah.
But as he's got a bit older, he's classy on the ball, but he's just got better on the ball. Like when he was at Watford, it was maybe not rushed, but he's just got more time on the ball now.
Do you know what he was at Watford? He was a rough diamond.
At
Watford. You could see he had it, and he's got all this aggression. He wants to do it, and he wants to work out, but it just wasn't fully clicking. But definitely, everybody could see that he had it.
He's got the quality,
and he's making the step up. So he's made the step up to Brighton, has done really well. Now he's making another step up to another layer above. By the way, Chelsea have paid Brighton so much money for players in the past. But the beauty of Joao Pedro is, right, I don't worry about him signing and not giving it his all. Do you know what I mean? You see some players when they sign these big deals, big contracts, big money, they take their foot off the gas a little bit. I would never worry about that with Joao Pedro. Right. And I think you take some solace from that, don't you?
Well, you know him personally, but I think, looking from the outside of it again, an unbelievable signing for me.
And if you're an Arsenal fan, Watto, are you banging your head against the wall?
Yeah, I really am devastated with seeing what's happening. It looks like they've put in all their eggs on the Gorkes basket. But, like, Amarin's got a real big in there if he wants to try and get him to Man United because of the relationship they had. So that has to put him and United, if that's the way they're going, at an advantage. And Arsenal's just seem to be putting everything into him. And, again, compared to a Pedro, compared to a Delap, not proven in the Premier League.
So with United then, Ben, so this Mbeumo deal seems to be quite protracted now. Like it's taken some time. If you're Bryan Mbeumo, we understand that he's not on silly wages. Yeah. So what, 40, 50 grand a week at Brighton. At this stage, would Mbeumo start kicking off?
Yeah, he'll be kicking off a little bit with Brentford to make sure the deal gets done. So this is the reason why that Brentford keep rejecting the deal, is because Man United are trying to structure it which suits them more. So they want to pay a bit of a fee up front, and then they want to do it over the next 4 or 5 years or whatever it is, and it's an instalment here and it's an instalment there. And Brentford, quite rightly, have gone, no, right, if you want him, you can have him today, yeah, but you pay a big bulk and then a bit more in little.
Because that's commonplace, isn't it?
It's commonplace, yeah. But Man United have obviously tried to do a little bit now and then a little bit next year, the year after, the year after. Whereas, like we said about Liverpool earlier, the way that they've got their deals done, they're having to pay a little bit more probably. But do you know what? It's done. It's done and dusted. It's done and dusted. Chelsea can sign Joao Pedro in 5 hours. Yeah. Done. But yeah. Man United, they've been going for, what, 3 weeks now, 4 weeks
They've got
now?
to do it because they've got the legacy deals of signing multiple players from previous years that are still, that maybe aren't performing, that they owe on.
This is the way that they've been doing the business for the last 5, 6, 7 years now, and it's not the way to do it. It really isn't the way to do it.
But they're stuck in a cycle.
They're stuck in a horrible cycle.
And what about Rashford then? So we were reading this morning that he is unwilling to budge, 325 grand a week wages, unwilling to budge and say, I'm not taking a pay cut, which you kind of say, fair, you've got a contract.
Imagine, right? Imagine every month, yeah? Because you have to pay 50% tax, you have to pay national insurance, and I'm not talking about bonuses, but every month he is coming out with 650 grand cleared in his bank.
Nice, eh?
That's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a scary thought. But if you go back to Marcus Rashford, the footballer, does he now want to be a footballer? Because Man United are not going to offload him on them wages. So is an Arsenal going to do what Villa did last year? Are they going to come in last minute and say, I tell you what, we'll go 50-50 and we'll take him on loan either for 6 months or 12 months? They're going to have to do something, because if I'm still an Arsenal fan at this point, Rashford has to be on the table for us. If he wants to play for
I don't think he's done himself any favours, though, from last year. I think if Aston Villa don't want to sign you...
But they can't because of this. They can't afford it.
But if he had smashed it for them, then not only would Aston Villa be trying to do everything they could, but then everybody else would be trying to do everything they could. And it just tells me that he didn't do enough last season to make everybody go, yeah, I think he's worth that risk.
Yeah. The obvious thing would be that a loan and split wages.
It probably will be. It'll be a loan, and Man United will probably pay 50%, and then the loan team will pay.
I'm guessing United won't be fussy where. So, like, if hypothetically an Arsenal did come in, I can't think United will be too fussy about it. They just want him out the door, don't they?
I think you're probably right. Normally, in years gone by, they're a direct opponent, they're a competitor. Yeah. But I think the tables have turned so much now that Arsenal are out of Man United's league. So it is what it is. We've just got to get the player off the books.
It'd be interesting to see what Amorim does, because I've liked the way that he has dealt with the Sancho and the Rashford. He has been quite resolute, and actually they are good players. So it has been detrimental to the team almost, hasn't it?
It'll be interesting if a player is outright refusing to go because of their wage demands. It would be really interesting to see if a manager comes out and says it plain as day and says, no, he's not willing to go anywhere because he doesn't want to lower his wage demands.
I think Amorim's got that in him.
But if they do that, then he's calling the player out and saying he's only interested in money.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. So it'd be interesting to see.
But I'm not being funny, but who has a contract worth that much money and says, OK, I'll forgo that? You've got to really love football to go. Like, I'm not being funny, but it's just a business.
But they're not doing it, are they? In any walk of life, if you sign a contract with somebody and they're prepared to pay you, whether it's 100 quid a week or 100,000 quid a week, it doesn't matter. When you've signed that contract and you're committed to that, there's nobody walking away from that. Nobody.
The only thing I'd say is, right, Marcus Rashford has been on massive money for the best part of 10 years, right? Yeah. Massive money. So Marcus Rashford is probably worth 70, 80 million quid.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah?
With all the endorsements.
Yeah?
Probably.
100 mil? So
quite possibly.
At what point do you go, do you know what? Like, I know I'm on 325 grand a week, but maybe I just get back to playing and being happy again and not worry about all the other stuff?
But no one knows. Unless we sit down or you sit down with Marcus Rashford and have that conversation, because you said about being happy again. Maybe football doesn't make him happy. Maybe he's counting down the days till he's out of it.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows apart from Marcus. Jamie, we've got TV screens in front of us, by the way. Jamie's just typed in Marcus Rashford net worth, and it says...
Oh, according to Google.
According to Google, Marcus Rashford's net worth is £76 million.
And he's 28. And how long has he got left on his contract?
2 years at least. Is it 2 years? Yeah, it's 2 years. He's got 2 years left on his contract. What's 325 grand a week? What's that equate to yearly? That's about 17 million quid a year.
Figures that I can't comprehend, mate. To be frank.
Hey, 17 million quid a year is what Ronaldo's earning in a week, by the way.
Yeah, well, I seen what he was getting.
Yeah.
Is he 500 grand a day or something?
Yeah, 500 grand a day.
Isn't it? Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, a bit of breaking news. Southampton turned down 19 million bid for Harvard Bellis from Porto.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And Wrexham have signed a goalkeeper.
Danny Ward. Everybody knew that was happening anyway. Everybody knew that. Big Wrexham fan.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah, good. It's a sensible sign in that. I like it. A bit of experience in there.
Yeah.
Well. Nice bit of experience. Brilliant. Lads, well done.
A lot happening this week. Some good stuff to talk about.
Absolutely.
We've all got our shorts on today. We apologise if you don't like looking at knees and crotches and stuff, but
it's hot.
It's like 33 degrees today.
It's warm.
What time is it? It's 10:25 on Monday morning, and it's already like 30 degrees. So, here's what it is.
Kevin Boyle, Inc.
Yeah. Horrible. Quiz time. Let's go. Come on.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the quiz. It's still pre-season, so there's no scoring, but we've got 10 questions. Are we ready to go?
Good.
Know how it goes? Know how it works?
We do.
Hope so.
Hope so. It's been, 44 episodes this season.
Is that all?
Question 1. Ahead of the new Premier League season, what manager started his playing career at Charlton Athletic?
Sorry?
Ahead of the new Premier League season, what manager started his playing career
Scott
at
Parker.
Charlton Athletic?
Yeah.
Scott Parker's the correct answer. Well done, Watto.
I remember watching him at Charlton as a kid against Wolves.
Yeah.
And the first game I ever saw him play, and he was just unreal. Yeah. Ran the game.
I'm going to put it out there. I am not going to get many right today. My brain is not working.
Wow.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's all right in the pre-season friendlies, mate.
No, there's no such thing as a pre-season friendly. I'm going double
It's called the Club World Cup.
I want to win.
1-0 to Watto, well done. Question 2. Ryan Sessegnon has played in what other country?
France.
No.
Germany.
Germany is the correct answer.
Naming popular European destinations.
Do you know what club it was?
I'd have said
Don't
Spain.
care.
Don't care?
Hoffenheim.
Hoffenheim's the correct answer.
Hey, don't get anything for that.
Don't get anything for that. Hoffenheim don't play in France.
No, they don't. You're right, Jay.
Question 3. Sir Alex Ferguson has won the most Premier League Manager of the Months award with 27, but who is in second?
Jose.
No and no.
Wenger.
Wenger is the correct answer, Watto. Arsene Wenger with 15, Pep Guardiola and David Moyes in third with 11.
David Moyes, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, remember he had a couple of Champions League
They've got
campaigns,
Everton,
didn't he,
yeah.
with Everton, yeah.
2-1 to Watto and 0 for Ben. Question 4. The first match of the Premier League season kicks off on the 16th of August, but which team is playing at
Liverpool,
home?
Bournemouth.
Wow, Watto. On fire, Liverpool.
My gosh, I didn't even know that.
That's because you're not a Premier League footballer
It's not a
anymore.
quiz question, though, is it?
It's still a question.
Wishy-washy.
Hey, come on, mate.
not
I've got
wishy-
one right there.
The Arsene
Yeah.
Wenger one's like the worst question in the world.
Yeah, both wishy-washy.
What do you mean?
They're wishy-washy.
The number 1 and 2 managers
Yeah.
in Premier League history are...
Yeah.
And you got it wrong?
Yeah, but because I was preempting that you
Yeah.
had more about you.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, yeah, okay. Question 5. What is the only club Rio Ferdinand has been on loan to in his career?
Leeds?
No.
West Ham.
No. What is the only club Rio Ferdinand has been on loan to
Are
in
we
his
all
career?
back in?
We are all back in.
He must have gone on loan as a kid from West Ham.
I'll say Charlton.
No.
I'll say Bournemouth.
Bournemouth is the correct answer.
Oh my God!
Harry, wasn't it? It was all that connection with Harry. And
Good. 3,
You pulled one out there.
3-2-0.
Jesus.
Question 6, career path question. I have played for Tranmere Rovers, Ipswich Town, West Ham. I have played for Tranmere Rovers, Ipswich Town, West Ham. Short career path today.
Very short.
I'll say one more time. I have played for Tranmere Rovers, Ipswich Town, and West Ham. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We all back in?
No, because
Do you know this one, Lukey?
I've seen it, so
Would you have got it though?
hard to say, isn't it?
the answer is Aaron Cresswell.
Ah, good, yeah, good.
Question 7. What is the official beer of the Premier League?
Guinness.
Guinness is the correct answer.
Yeah, but that's not really a beer.
Yeah,
I looked it up, and
stout.
it's a stout, but it counts as a beer. I
Okay.
looked it up.
Yeah.
And it says on the
You're
Premier
a
League website.
passenger today, mate.
Told
You're
you.
not very well, are you?
Miles
He's
off
not
it
well today, not well
Miles off
today.
Yeah.
3-3.
It's what pre-season's for, mate.
fine.
Getting the formation
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You could go on and win now, all 4-3-3.
Exactly.
No, it's only 3 questions left.
Yes, only 3 questions left. Yeah, tiebreaker to win it. Question 8. What club did Newcastle sign Dan Burn from?
Brighton.
Brighton is the correct answer.
Computer and computer.
Wow. Tom takes the lead, 4-3.
Watto, what a comeback. Come on.
Question 9. Which player got the young player of the season last season in the Premier
Cole
League?
Palmer.
No.
Wait there, season just...
Saka.
Season just gone, yeah.
Saka.
No, not Saka.
This last season, that's
I'll repeat
just
the question.
finished.
Yeah, which player got the young player of the season award last season in the Premier League?
Yeah, but is last season still this season?
Wait there,
No,
what
last season.
PFA? Like what?
I didn't say
what-
PFA, so it's Premier League. The Premier League have awarded this.
Okay.
All on you, Watto. 5,
We talked about it last week.
4.
I'll go Kirkes.
No, not Kirkes. You're all back in.
Miles Lewis Kelly.
No.
Hoyson.
No.
Duck.
Sauce.
5, 4,
I know it.
3, 2, 1.
Hudson-Odoi.
No.
Delap.
No.
Gun.
No. Ryan Gravenberch.
Oh,
Did he?
Didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he won it.
Didn't know
No,
that.
I won't.
He won it.
Why do I think Gravenberg is 27?
Same.
He's like 21, 22.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Future ready for him.
I don't know what award he won there then. I'm not sure about that.
The Premier League,
Yeah,
young
Premier
player of
League,
the
young
year.
player of the season. Yeah.
Very good.
Oh,
Final question. Watto, to take it to a tiebreaker, you need this one.
Go on, Watto.
come on.
Question 10. Where did Ollie Watkins start his career
Brentford.
at?
No, it's not. Shit.
Exeter City is the
Shit.
correct answer.
I knew it. I knew it. Shit.
Oh, well done, lads. Well done. Tommy O takes the quiz.
That's incredible
Thanks,
today.
Jay.
Well
Why
done.
did I say
Those
that?
first couple
5-3.
of questions were actually
Hey,
unbelievable.
why
Cheers,
did I
mate,
say
thanks.
that, Lukey?
5-3.
I take it back. They were great. They weren't wishy-washy. They were brilliant.
Cheers, guys.
Another
Thank
good
you.
day at the office, Jay.
I know. Three questions. That's good from you, Watto.
That's
There was a
mate,
bit of ambiguity. There was a bit of backlash in the comments on the end of season quiz.
Yeah, I think it overall was quite positive. I
It was a
think.
good quiz.
It was-
I think, on reflection, it was a good quiz.
Still
Yeah.
think, I still think the Jacob Murphy one's still on.
The Jacob Murphy
Are
one.
you still standing
Dan
by?
White is it's quiz heritage. We've always done it like that. So, so yeah.
All right,
Anyway,
well done, lads. Absolutely fantastic. Let us know how you got on in the comments down below. All the best.
that camera.
See you later, lads.